This is Mile High.
Do I want to tell the story or do I want to show the message?
You've got a lot of work to do between Mile High.
The time has come where we can know
we have a responsibility, an ethical and moral responsibility.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
it's now time for the show.
Cool. Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for joining us from whatever altitude you are. We are at 5,280 feet, where we anticipate you will be in September of 2025, September 24th to 28th, on higher ground. RiseUpToMileHigh.com. There's no else you want to be in September other than Mile High. And I'm so thrilled to be here with Dr. Jen Santos, who'll be on stage this year. And I also do want to mention, if you're watching, whether it be iTunes or Spotify, whatever way you're watching the podcast or listening, make sure that you hit subscribe, because you do not want to miss any Mile High tick. All right, so hit subscribe so you always are in on the podcast we put out each week, every Thursday. So Dr. Jen, she's a second generation chiropractor, which is special in and of itself. She received her first adjustment at 45 minutes old by her dad, who graduated from Life West in 2013. She received the prestigious Clinical Excellence Award, and so you and I have that in common from graduation. And she's a full-time chiropractor and owner of Acorn Chiropractic with 3 locations, and she teaches very full-time on top of that. So that's always pretty impressive of someone who's in practice and also teaching. So I hats off to you, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, there's this interesting thing of being in a chiropractic family. So since you and I are both in that experience, there's some people that do that and they're like, I don't want to be a chiropractor, right? For whatever thing they see. It's not like an anti-chiropractor, but they don't want to. And some people are like, well, from a very young age, they're going to be a chiropractor. How did you end up on the chiropractic path in your chiropractic family? People think if you're a chiropractic family, you're going to just, of course, become a chiropractor. It doesn't work that way. But how did you end up deciding that this was something that you were going to walk that road?
So I actually homeschooled in the back of my dad's office. And so we got to see the miracles of chiropractic every day. And my dad was a big PI work comp practice, but he still had people coming in who were unable to get pregnant and then got pregnant under care. And the different exciting things of women go into labor, see him throughout their pregnancy, go into labor and have an easy, birth. And so I got to see the miracles of chiropractic every day. And when I got into high school, I started working there more kind of sort of on a full-time basis and really connecting with the people. And I was like, I really want a job that connects people with themselves and with the community. And when I started looking at what that meant, our whole life revolved around the business of chiropractic, my dad's business. And so I really didn't want to do that, because I didn't want my whole life to be consumed with the business aspect of chiropractic. And so I actually went to school I went to undergrad for criminal justice, started looking at law enforcement, and then decided really more to go into law, and then got some way through that and decided I did not want to help people on the worst days of their lives, but I wanted to help people live better lives. And so my husband actually decided to go to chiropractic college because he started working in my dad's office and started seeing those miracles and seeing those exciting things. And my husband went to a seminar, saw Reggie Gold speak, and was like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so he basically said, I'm going to chiropractic college. we're going to uproot our lives. And I was like, okay. And then I heard Jerry Clum speak, and he shared his chiropractic story. And I was like, I want to go to chiropractic college and become the best prenatal pediatric chiropractor I can be. And my husband was like, well, there's only one problem with that. Pregnancy totally grosses you out and weirds you out, and you don't like kids. And I was like, I'll figure it out. And now I like kids a lot more than I like adults. I feel very awkward around adults, and I feel at home with children. So it kind of comes full circle.
Well, I was going to ask you that. I was going to say, you took my second question. I was going to ask you, how'd you end up in the loop of the ICPA?
So I started chiropractic college knowing that I wanted to work with children, because to me, if you can work with children and not have them grow into certain patterns, I love the quote, it's easier to grow healthy children than fix broken adults. And I watched my dad in his practice, and he was a fantastic chiropractor, don't get me wrong, but it was always like treating stuff that happened, 5, 10, 15 years ago, or, these processes and patterns that had been there for a very long time. And I'm looking at it going, well, if you had come in when you were a child, perhaps, or come in when you were in utero, and through the ICPA and through understanding subluxation and chiropractic, it really led me down the rabbit hole of children, but then also into pregnancy care, because the baby in utero is growing and developing and creating those patterns. And so if we can see them in utero, I mean, we're not adjusting babies in utero, but if we can see and create what I like to call a luxury pelvis for baby to grow in, that balanced pelvis in mom, with a healthy, happy pregnancy, then we're creating that balance, energetically, spiritually, structurally, all of those balances. We can help kind of create that balance for baby to grow in that luxury pelvis, and kind of come into the world in a more easeful manner.
Wow, that sounds awesome. It sounds like something that every parent should want.
Absolutely.
I mean, you would think, but sadly, a lot of them just simply, most of the world doesn't know about that.
Right.
So let's dive into that. And before we do so, Mile High. You've been to Mile High once? How many times have you been to Mile High?
September will be my third.
Oh, September would be your third. So,
Yeah.
What have you loved about being at Mile High in the past?
I love the energy. I don't love the altitude. I'm at like 0.
Okay.
I'm at sea level here. The altitude is rough, but everything else, the energy of the chiropractors, I love, everybody having the common goal of chiropractic being like the focus of things.
Right.
I feel like in the chiropractic world and the chiropractic profession, a lot of the chiropractic can get lost. And I really feel like Mile High honors chiropractic, and in a way, you don't have to be a certain technique or mindset necessarily, but everybody's there for like literally a higher calling, but
That's funny.
to be there and sort of like promote this like lifestyle of family wellness chiropractic.
Right, right. So now, the altitude. So, here's the thing. You got to know, like, you got one of those. You got to get one of those air things that you can buy. You can get them anywhere. You can get them in the airport. But you can go to like, some convenience store or Walmart or whatever on the way. They're not. You got to do that, and you got to hydrate. That's like, yeah. You got to prioritize those things, right?
Yeah.
And electrolytes. But it is rough. I remember. Being at Sherman and being a student, and I did not live here, and flying out, and then and I flew to Breckenridge, which is 2 miles high, so it's higher. And I was like, being 25, thinking I'm gonna go hit the gym, and I was like, holy crap, I couldn't believe the difference. Obviously living here, you're acclimated, but at that age, I was shocked. I was like, I can't lift I was more of a gym rat at the time, and I was like, I can't do that. I can't walk. So it's like the struggle's real. So you got to make sure you take care of yourself. And people discover that when they fly out. I know Ian Schulman, which you're a friend of,
Yeah.
he flies out a lot to go skiing. So he might, but it's no joke. Like, there's a reason why I say seminars at sea level are for slackers. It's like you gotta be ready. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so then now tell us about what you're going to be sharing at Mile High, the topic that you're going to help people with, because you're going to be you've been a part of a panel before, but this time you're doing a main stage hour CE presentation.
Yeah. So I'm going to be talking about the pregnancy dyad. So the mom and the baby, and how the pregnancy imprints onto the baby, and how the pregnancy matters and the birth matters. And it's not just a philosophical debate as to what, if a vaginal birth is better than a cesarean or anything like that. It's more that what that baby goes through sets the tone and the pattern for their whole life. And obviously there are reasons why certain babies need to be born certain ways. And even when that happens, we still need to care for them and make sure that we are helping alter their trajectory. And so really kind of diving deep into the importance of pregnancy and birth, and those first early couple weeks and months.
So now that being said, what is one thing, you've been teaching chiropractors for how many years have you been teaching?
Since, oh gosh, I guess 10 years.
So what is one thing that you wish chiropractors knew about pregnancy and taking care of kids? Well, let's say just for one thing, because pregnancy is a big enough topic.
Yeah. I think pregnancy, I wish that they knew it's more about function than about pain. I mean, yes, we help people get out of pain in pregnancy, and
Right.
that is really wonderful, and it does help people live a better quality of life and all of that. But it's really about the function. It's about setting the baby up for the rest of their life, and not only the mom, and helping create more balance and sense of cohesion in her own life, but then also in that baby's life.
Well, right. Yeah, that's generally now let's take this one other step. So that's what chiropractors. What about one thing you wish the public knew, or parents?
Same thing.
Okay.
That like, yes, I mean, when somebody comes in, I care about your sciatica. I don't want people to be in pain, sure, because I'm a relatively nice human. But the flip side to that is really, I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, how is this influencing your baby and the future generations beyond just that mom? And not that she's just a mom, but really, like, it's so much more than just the alleviation of low back pain in pregnancy.
Now you taught at Life West,
Yes.
right? And you have taught for the ICPA.
Yep.
And why is the Webster technique the gold standard technique for pregnancy adjusting?
So that dives into really understanding the biomechanics of the pelvis, how the pelvis moves, looking at the soft tissue around the pelvis and within the pelvis. So I describe it as, if you think of the uterus as a big hot air balloon, when you're pregnant, you have this gorgeous hot air balloon that we see in the belly. And if you imagine the fascia that tethers the uterus to the pelvis is sort of what I call like a fascial tutu, right?
Okay.
It's not just
that's a new word for me.
Yes, fascial tutu, good. And that fascial tutu kind of holds everything. Well, I usually give the analogy to a woman, but whatever, we'll go here. If you've ever but if you imagine, the concept of a tutu or a skirt or whatever, if it gets torqued on one side, the whole thing has to compensate for that. And so in the pelvis, if you have torsion of that fascial tutu, it's going to create restriction, and that ultimately is going to decrease function and
Okay.
balance.
Yeah, this is a whole new world for me. So this is going to be new for people at Mile High. I didn't know there was a fascial tutu. So
But did you know we wanted a luxury pelvis either?
I didn't know that either, and that was going to be my next question. It's like my next question. This is like a whole new thing, and I take care of babies and pregnant people. And I haven't really thought of myself wanting a luxury pelvis. But why? But why do people want a luxury pelvis, and what is one?
What is luxury pelvis? To me, a luxury pelvis is balance.
Okay.
I refuse to say symmetry, and this might like upset some, I don't know, Nuka people or something, or AO people. I don't know. But I think if we look at the body is asymmetrical. Nature is asymmetrical. We don't really see
Okay.
symmetry within the body. And so I don't really say we want symmetry in the pelvis, but we want balance in the pelvis. We want the pelvis to be able to have a lot of strength, but also relax. We want the pelvis to be able to move, but not, move too much, but not move too little. And so we want this sort of Goldilocks luxury pelvis. And that really, to me, is creating that balance energetically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, structurally, neurologically, muscularly, all of it. So,
Okay. Wow. And that's a big picture.
yeah.
So, and do you teach more pregnancy? Do you teach more pediatrics or more perinatal, or all of the above?
So all of the above. For the ICPA, I teach the Webster course. So I'm one of 4 chiropractors who travels and certifies other chiropractors in the Webster technique with the ICPA. I also teach a class called the Highs and Lows, Navigating a Perinatal Practice with the ICPA that really dives into perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, postpartum depression, that kind of stuff, and also miscarriages and stillborns. And so that is more a pregnancy class also. So both of those through the ICPA are more pregnancy related. And then I teach dynamic body balancing through Carol Phillips, which covers
Okay.
more pregnancy and pediatrics.
Well, and that's a big gamut. So now, we've said this word or acronym a number of times, which is the ICPA. Why is the ICPA important?
Oh boy. How much time
I'm
we
giving you the tough questions today.
The ICPA is important because they're the ones kind of setting the standards and putting out the research to ensure that chiropractic is both safe and effective for pregnancy and pediatrics. They're looking
Okay.
at, we do PBRNs, which is a practice-based research network. So we're looking
Okay.
involving chiropractors all over the world into research to look at safety and efficacy and how we know what we know. So a lot of times chiropractors know something to be true, but we also a lot of times need to prove it through the research. And so when we have the practice-based research network, we're able to get a lot more information from a lot of other chiropractors, and sort of instead of it just being one office, we're able to collaborate and say, okay, now we have 200 offices or whatever, however many people participate. So
Oh, that's really exciting.
yeah, and then the ICPA also is sort of like I don't know, I say we're the best for pediatric and prenatal care. I mean, Justin has sort of taken over in the last 5 years, and he's really brought on people who are super passionate and super knowledgeable. I mean, we've had the pediatric panel at Mile High. And I don't know if you know this, but Marcia Schaefer's talk went like viral.
Oh, I know, because I'm a collaborator on it.
Yeah. So it's really, I mean, we have the best of the best. I mean, I'm so excited to not only be standing on the shoulders of giants, but standing next to giants. And like, I just feel like I'm a kid at the Thanksgiving table, finally allowed to the
That's so funny.
table.
Now, talking about pregnancy and chiropractic care, So, people have very little pediatric and pregnancy training in their chiropractic education,
Yeah.
in general, and it's really something that you have to learn postgraduately. I would love that more of that was in chiropractic education, and I don't think it's happening this year. But I mean, I would like if it was the case.
Yeah.
So why is it important for people to not look at it as if it's just like adjusting a small adult. Why do they need to look at that, beyond that point of view?
Well, we could look at it from a couple different ways with that. Their nervous system is not developed, it's immature, and so their nervous system is not usually able to tolerate like something like a high velocity, low amplitude adjustment. The other aspect of that is skeletally, we have secondary ossification centers that are not done growing, so we can't adjust them using like short lever adjusting or even long lever adjusting. If we're doing more osseous adjustments, we can't really do that. We shouldn't do that. I should say we shouldn't do that on babies and children. And we really need to be more respectful of when people bring us their babies, like that's their pride and joy. I mean, most parents are going to say, I look at your beautiful posts about your son, like raving about him at Sherman, and it's so beautiful. And it's like that's our whole life. Like, yes, this chiropractic thing is important, but first and foremost, like you're a dad,
Right.
and it's such an honor to be brought somebody's baby, and if you don't know what you're doing, get out of the way or learn or learn what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's really a duty of all every chiropractor to properly learn how to address kids and newborns and people, pregnancy, and this is why it's so vital, to learn this, and it's taken for granted. So, what are some of the things about neurological changes in pregnancy that are important that people may not be aware of?
So this was really cool. We know through Heidi Havoc's research that when we adjust, we primarily impact the prefrontal cortex and the cerebellum. And we know during pregnancy, there are major neurological changes that occur in the prefrontal cortex, the hypothalamus, and the amygdala. The amygdala is what I call like the mama bear center of the brain, right? You normally have like super chill women and then they get pregnant and they're able to speak up for themselves and insert themselves in different ways. And they become like a mama bear.
Right.
So those changes are happening in pregnancy, and when we adjust, we are directly affecting those changes. And we see that with women who have a better sense of coercion in pregnancy. And then when you go into the postpartum world, you're sort of hyped up onto these hormones that have been a lot higher, estrogen and progesterone. And then right after the placenta is born, it triggers your body to say, okay, we're going to stop producing those hormones. And then the pituitary gland is going to grow larger. And it's going to reach its largest hypertrophic activity at about 6 weeks postpartum. That pituitary gland is vital and essential for milk production, the uterus to go back to normal size, and all of that kind of stuff. And so what we want to do is be stimulating the nervous system and creating proper function. If you go back to the safety pin cycle, we want to basically make sure that the input and the output are functioning at the best they can.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So then, with that, what are some of the things about neurological changes postpartum that people need to be aware of?
Oh, so I kind of answered that just now. But yeah, basically the postpartum neurological changes are your brain is actually changing. And those hormones that were
I thought you were talking about more pregnancy, but okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah. But the biggest one with postpartum is going to be after baby's born, that growth in that pituitary gland to help make more milk, and that kind of goes into like the design of how it's supposed to be, right? Like during pregnancy, we're maintaining um, uterine tone and we're not having contractions. And then toward the end, we start to have contractions. And then once placenta is born, it triggers the body to stop producing such high levels of estrogen and progesterone and tells the body, hey, now we need more prolactin, right? And that prolactin is going to come from that pituitary gland, which is going to have to go through a tremendous amount of hypertrophic activity. And so it's going to grow in size. And so we want to make sure that we're taking care of mom during or pregnant or postpartum person to make sure that we're creating that balance during that time.
Now, how does this all impact both in the pregnancy and postpartum? So I'll phrase it that way. How does it impact the person who's, taking care of that person? Like, how does it impact what they do, the practitioner?
So I think during that time, like you need to know what you're doing. So being being Webster certified is a good start. Training through the ICPA, we have Kristen Hasaka's class, which is amazing, which is adjusting for birth. We have John Edwards' class, who he's just such a wealth of knowledge. But those classes really kind of set the tone for taking care of pregnant people while they're pregnant to help kind of create more balance and achieve that luxury pelvis.
Okay, cool. Now, with all of that, what are the things like, so in practice and in teaching, you probably have some experience of like being shocked of like either things that people were not aware of or things that they were doing that you're like, oh, please don't do this. That like, please learn this now. Like, that like really made a difference. So like, if there's one thing that you wish people said, like, please don't do this thing and do this instead, what might it be?
Um, oh, I could get in trouble here, but
Well, say it nicely. Say it nicely.
I'll say it nicely. I wish that less people would do side posture on pregnant women.
Oh, wow.
I think side posture can be amazing and people tend to really like it. But it's one of those things where it has the ability to introduce uterine torsion. And so I'm not a fan, and it also can torque the respiratory diaphragm and the pelvic diaphragm. And so I have a lot of chiropractors that say, well, I do side posture, but I don't have any torque. And I go, okay, just record yourself and watch yourself.
Right.
Because I've yet to see anybody be able to actually do it with zero torque.
Well, and I asked that because, I do network. So doing network spinal, it's different. We're not doing a lot of side posture on pregnant people, period.
Thank
Right?
you.
Yeah. I mean, so it's not something that I would have thought of that people
Right.
may be doing improperly,
Right.
or doing at all,
Right.
So, because I'm doing something different technique wise, so that would actually be a really good, wise thing for people to take in event. You probably see it happen more than you're comfortable saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So then with that, if there's like one reason of people to like this is why you should become part of the ICPA, what might you say?
It's a group of really elite prenatal pediatric chiropractors. It's
Okay.
people who are dedicated to the profession, people who are dedicated to promoting chiropractic family lifestyle in a salutogenic manner. So looking at the whole person, not just looking at the sum of the parts.
Mhm.
And the ICPA is very similar, in my opinion, to kind of what you also get at Mile High, because we have chiropractors who do different techniques. I have friends in the ICPA that do different techniques, and that and we have small disagreements or big disagreements about stuff, but we can still love each other, and we're still coming from it from a respectful manner, because the truth is, I'm of the opinion everyone can benefit from chiropractic, regardless of the presence or absence of symptoms. And just because I'm one type of chiropractor, there are going to be people who benefit from your type of chiropractic, who benefit from, other people's type of chiropractic. And so I love the fact that there are so many different techniques and such a variety, but the ICPA kind of offers that, and it gives you kind of a global view of like, hey, these are the options. These are the people, the leaders in the profession that are doing this prenatal pediatric thing, and you can kind of decide where you fit into that.
It's really interesting that you bring that up, and that is one of the things that I want to be central in Mile High. So I'm really, that it's Elise Rigney, friend of mine, and she said she felt like it's the tribes coming together. She said that about Mile High. So I'm really glad that that's being fostered in the ICPA as well.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you see this or too. I mean, you graduated, it was 2013, we just said.
Yep.
Is that what it was? So I graduated a little bit before you, but we don't need to say when. But I feel like the throwing rocks at each other for technique is calming a little bit. It was really intense in the early 90s, and I think that's kind of dropping down a little bit. Are you noticing that as well? Because it kind of seemed like you were saying that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that there's a level of respect that we as chiropractors should have for each other. Just because I do one technique doesn't mean that it's the best and the only for everyone in the world or on the planet. But I think everyone should be seen by a chiropractor. And so I think finding what works for you as a practice member or patient, and being a chiropractor who kind of understands different techniques is really important as well.
Excellent. And I think, again, I think that's calming a little, and I hope that ICPA and Mile High are contributing that to a little bit, and I think other organizations too. I think there's, quite a bit of disparagement between like the allopathic versus the principal chiropractors, and that's a bigger conversation. But I do think that technique rock throwing is decreasing a little bit, which would be good. It'd be good if we can better at referring people, because someone, maybe this person might see this person's spine in a different way than I do, and maybe they'll see something that I don't see.
Totally.
I think that would be healthier for practice members if we had a little bit more of that in the profession versus, they're not a good person because they do Logan or upper cervical or the opposite of whatever it is that I do. Because that was that there's a time that needs to shift, and if we're going to impact the world with chiropractic, we have to have more, we're all in this together, and all the ships rise together kind of power.
Totally.
And more, and especially if you're talking about taking care of kids and pregnancy, then that's super super important. So can you say, we'll be wrapping up here, is there a person or maybe a series of people or a couple of people that you saw as like, these were my, these mentors really impacted me?
I think my biggest chiropractic mentor was Reggie Gold, for sure. He's who I affectionately call him my grandfather of chiropractic. And then Jeannie Ohm, of course, in the prenatal pediatric realm. She was just amazing. Carol Phillips, who is a chiropractor who sort of discovered or developed dynamic body balancing. And then honestly, Justin Ohm. I mean, he's incredible. And I'm just so thankful to be able to work with him and in the capacity that we do.
Yeah, he's done a really good job at taking up the torch in the ICPA.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing. So I really appreciate that about him. And so I'm really appreciate that he's going to be on the main stage at Mile High this year. So that's super exciting.
Yeah.
Well, is there any last message you'd like to share with chiropractors today on the podcast or students?
I just think everyone should be at Mile High because I think it gives people the opportunity. Chiropractic is really about connection. And when we are able to put down our pitchforks and realize that we're all humans and we all can connect and love each other and refer to each other when necessary and just be friends, I think that that's really one of the essential things that Mile High is providing, is that space for that. So thank you.
I just have to tell you, I'm going to quote you on that. Put
Perfect.
down your pitchforks. I love that. And that's a little bit of what we've been talking about. It's really important if we're going to, and you know, this isn't new. I mean, BJ Palmer talked about that. Like, and I was reading J.R. Drain, and you know, he said, you know, if chiropractors, you know, if we were together on our you know, we on our mission, that we would, you know, change the world, you know, in lesser generations and fewer generations than it would take if we did it separately, you know.
Yeah.
So so I really appreciate you being part of that.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you on Higher Ground. And look, you know, electrolytes, water, and get those little air things that you blow, you know. All right, maybe I should have one ready for you. No, but it's true. We thought about selling them at check-in because people say that, you know, it's you know, like having a real, because it's like it's a real thing and people don't think it's real, and then I hear the feedback. You're like, I didn't know, and I went to go for a hike. No, it's beautiful, and then they like go for a hike and then they overdo it and they don't realize it. You know?
I will say the first time I came to Mile High, I was like 20 weeks pregnant, and so it was already like not feeling wonderful, and then got there, and so it was in my mind it was rough, but I think part of that was the pregnancy.
Right. Well, I'm so thrilled you're going to be there, and keep changing spines, lives, and minds. And you know, I hope some of your besties come out to Mile High with you.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate the passion and the heart that you bring, and the message you bring. So thank you for being who you are and showing up as you do. So everyone who's watching, you heard it from Jen Santos. One, you know, put down your pitchforks. Two, you know, don't let the 13 scare you, and be at Mile High 13, and riseup-to-milehigh.com is where you can get all the info on that. And just, you know, don't procrastinate. Just know you want to be there. So, okay.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. Keep changing spines, lives, and minds. Chiropractic. See you on Higher Ground. Awesome.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. You got a really good setup back there. Look at that. You got the, you know, all the things.
All the diplomas.
Yeah. Where are you? Is this your home or is it one of your offices?
It's one of my offices.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time, and we will see you real soon. Is there anything relative to Mile High that you need?
No, I think I'm just ready to go.
There was a question. It came up a number of times, and maybe you answered it and I missed it because a lot of things fly by me that I can't pay attention to, or I know I miss out half of them. A booth. You need a booth?
Oh, there was an option to have a booth. I don't really need a booth. I was just gonna, I'm putting out a like educational stuff for online educational stuff. And so that will come live September 1st.
Oh, perfect.
Website. So I was like, well, that'd be cool to roll it out.
But you can. We just there was confusion whether you did or did not. So, and what was the brand and logo? There was some confusion about that. Maybe it was already handled.
Yeah, I talked to Kaz.
Yes.
Yes. And yeah, so
we're good.
I think we're good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, look forward to seeing you soon. If you need anything else, don't hesitate.
All right, thank you so much.
Speak to you later. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.